You can make a combination of a couple noises and screamers and bangers. They don't want to be around that. It's, again, birds go away, then they're not getting hit. It's a big win for them. And then great, we're also not potentially having an aircraft getting hit as well.
Welcome to the Pulaski Planner, where we share the stories and wisdom of the professionals who manage our public lands. I'm Catherine Kirchner, your guide to building a retirement as adventurous as your career. Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm really excited for this conversation. I know we had some back and forth trying to get it scheduled. You're a busy man.
I'm really glad to be here. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, well, let's just start off with, if you don't mind, I think it's really cool that you're a wildlife biologist in the Air Force. Can you share with me what kind of came first in your life? Was it I know I want to be in the Air Force, or I know I want to be a biologist?
Sure. All right. So we'll go way back. So I was working as a contractor in Iraq, and I was I would say I always loved working with animals. I was doing a job with animals. I'd worked at zoos. I'd worked at aquariums. Growing up, I read a lot of books by Willard Price. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I think he died before I was born. He's a Canadian author. Writes children's books based on his family's experience capturing animals for zoos and aquariums. He took his experiences and he split them into two brothers, Hal and Roger Hunt. They're not. I think they're like third or fourth grade reading, if I would estimate, something like 200 to 300 page books. And he has this adventure series, and he talks about his family's life experience. I'm talking from the 1900s to the early 20th century, traveling around the world from places like South America, all across Africa. I think he has like one where they do early scuba diving in like the 1960s or something. And I remember thinking like that I want to do something like that. And the first time I ever got paid by an aquarium, I was out doing fish counts for NOAA as a contractor, sorting out thousands of fish and stuff. And I got asked, "Hey, can you capture these fish? Is this something that you can come up with?" And I remember I had a little needle for doing needle decompression. As you pull fish up from really deep, pull them out really fast. Some of their organs will come out. And so if you do a quick needle D, you can immerse them in a 55-gallon drum. And it's just so cool to watch that process happen, where they're then spinning around, they're okay, and then transporting those fish with a little bubbler out to aquarium and like getting paid for it. I was like, this is a real thing. Like there's you can find jobs that you are, I don't know, passionate about, that you enjoy doing, and you can get paid really well for doing that. So flash forward, I've been very fortunate and blessed to then hop over into the military. I'm the only certified wildlife biologist through the Wildlife Society that's in the Air Force, and probably active duty. I can't speak for all other branches, but I'd be pretty hard pressed to find other ones. But there are several biologists that are in the Army. I've worked with many of them in the Navy, just not necessarily directly on the wildlife side. And overall, it's been a blessing, and I can't speak enough for having good support and having good goals. Having goals from, I'm talking, your little short term to, hey, this is what I want to do in 60, 90 days, maybe a year. And then your medium, like your five-year plan, and having that 10-year plan out, I think really it helped shape what I wanted to do. And lots of people have dreams, but if you don't have a goal and a milestones on how you're going to actually hit it, great. It's a dream. And I would add to that, having someone that you tell your goals to. I think that's very important, and someone that's going to hold you accountable. I might have a bunch of friends that are going to say, "Hey, that's an awesome job that you went out and did this. It's great. You published another paper." They're there for giving me the congratulations, but it's those people that say, "Hey, you said you're going to publish 2 papers this year. How are those coming?" And it could be that friendly, that checkup. I think that's something that really helps. And whether you have one or five or people or something that do that, I think that's really important in life.
Totally agree. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing. If you don't mind me asking, who are the accountability partners in your life?
I have several, and I would say they're many of them, not many of them. Some of them are military, some of them are not. I would say someone that's been a big impact on my life is Dan Sullivan.
Hmm.
He is the Bash Team Chief for the Air Force, and um, I think no matter what leadership position you are, and this is something that I have tried to do with anyone that I've supervised, is you want to ask them their goals and how you can then get them to hit those goals. What can I best to help you, especially if it's good for the job they're doing? Because if you are a decent supervisor, if your people are happy, if they're pursuing their goals and it benefits the organization, they're going to want to stay there, and it's going to be a win for everyone. Happy environment there. That I would say that's probably pretty big. Couple personal friends, but I guess the closer friends that I've had are more on that like congratulatory side. Nothing wrong with that. It's good. It's good to have people that pat you on the back. But I like my opinion. I think it's helpful to have that person that's gonna nudge you in the back and say, you said you were gonna do this year. Why haven't you done it? Or what are you doing to work on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. The win-win you described, I'm a big fan of that as well.
No.
If I can transition a little bit, I'm curious, are there any projects that you're working on currently that are sort of fueling you or that you're excited about that you would mind sharing with us?
Yeah, so I recently completed a bird and wildlife aircraft strike hazard. And stop me if that acronym BASH is. Do you want me to explain it, or is it?
That'd
Is
be
this
great.
something
Yeah,
you already?
not
Oh,
everyone.
okay.
Yeah, not everyone will have that context.
Okay. So let's flash back to the FAA has a requirement for every CR-134 airport that they have to have a wildlife mitigation plan, something to do to stop wildlife from coming in contact with aircraft. So good for wildlife, right? Good for safety of planes. So the Air Force, similar, has that same policy. We have what's called Air Force Instructions, or AFIs. AFI 91212 is the Bird and Wildlife Aircraft Strike Hazard Program specifically. So think of it like this is the overarching document that we'll use as a guide on how we're going to work our way through this. So there's an AFI on everything. So anyway, so on that specific thing, I've gone out and done a bunch of what's called SAVs, staff assistance visits. When you do that, it's not an inspection. We'll go out to different airfields and we'll look at an all hazards approach, similar to like an ecology type standpoint, where we're looking at things like grass height. There is a standard, which is you have your 17 to 14 inches, where you want grass that's not too high, where you could hide like a coyote in it, for example, or maybe a deer if it gets high enough. But you don't want grass that's too low, because if you have things like Canada geese that are going to come in and land there. So you want to have that kind of happy medium. And it's going to address all things out there that will make that airfield a less attractive area for wildlife to come in. So better for everyone that's involved. And then what happens is I will compile a report, I'll send it up, and then I'll have my recommendations on there. And I'll say, here's a way that you could potentially fix that issue for the things that we see out there. So recently I was out, I did several airfields in Southern California. I will say, having done this on airfields everywhere from up in the Arctic in Greenland to down in the Caribbean and Curacao, every airfield is different, every environment is different. But the behavior of birds, say you break them down to guilds, like passerines, they're going to behave different. If I can take away their food source, a place for them to nest, I don't want them to sit there and breed on the airfield, where then they're going to get hit by planes. They're going to act the same if I then make it, hey, but 5 miles away, you could create a nice habitat for birds. great. Then you have a nice solid place for them to go that's not on that asphalt and concrete, whatever structure that we don't want them at.
Do you get to be, is the recommendation like to build this sort of alternative, or do you get to implement any of that stuff? That sounds pretty cool.
Uh, so sometimes there'll be some follow through. Sometimes there'll be a project that comes out of it. One you can find that you can see some pretty neat pictures of. Made some recommendations on what are we going to do with bald eagles that were coming out heavily onto coastal Virginia. Fortunately, the Air Force has not hit any there, but other services have, and civilian airports have. So what's one way that we could then look at it from that problem? So there'll be an article coming out, but there's a couple other ones for that bald eagle research that we did. We trapped several bald eagles and we moved them several distances away, up to 150 miles, and let them go, seeing how long it would take for them to get back to that area. So it's exciting for me. I've trapped, I don't know, many bald eagles and 7 golden eagles through that project and through the Air Force. So it's a good win for wildlife when wildlife doesn't get hit, but it's also great for the Air Force and for safety in general and this is stuff that's, of course, will be accessible to everyone that's working in and out of an airfield. I could say when I was down in Curacao, I think that's one of the islands on the Caribbean, I got to meet with their biology team down there in the island. And, it's the only island in the Caribbean that has white-tailed deer, and talking through some of the different challenges they have there with caracara and working through, hey, these are a very social bird they're very intelligent. It's a really smart raptor. Well, how can we keep them away so we don't have them getting hit? And sometimes it's just a little scare tactic. You can make a combination of a couple noises and screamers and bangers. They don't want to be around that. It's, again, birds go away, then they're not getting hit. It's a big win for them. And then great, we're also not potentially having an aircraft getting hit as well.
Okay, so this sounds really cool, but when you initially started explaining it, my brain went immediately to that scene in, was it the third Indiana Jones, where Sean Connery is using his umbrella to push up the birds into the plane?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're referring to. So that is a potential concern. So if I was to scare the birds towards an aircraft like that scene, that would be a major issue. So exactly. So looking at the specifics of how you haze or harass birds, it would fall into that category. You would not want to do it towards an aircraft. There's certain times you can do it. If you happen to see, I don't know, let's say the helicopter is landing down, you're not going to scare birds off into that direction, if that makes sense. So great question on that.
It sounds really interesting. So if someone wanted to if this was a revelation that you could combine these two possible passions of serving your country in the Air Force and also, pursuing, protecting and helping wildlife, can someone actively go into the Air Force for this? Or it sounds like you had the biology background first and then brought that into your military career. Is there more than one way to land in this spot? Or it sounds like it's a pretty narrow niche also.
Yeah. So yes and no. There are USDA Wildlife Service biologists and technicians. I can't say on every single military installation, but most Air Force CONUS or stateside bases, several overseas bases, they'll have, sometimes there might be 3, 4, even more. The work that USDA does, I do a lot of joint partnerships with them, is phenomenal. Like me, to be fully qualified as a wildlife biologist, as a 486, there's certain trainings they have to do as an airport wildlife biologist as well, which of course I had to do. I've talked to so many great ones, but there are even technicians out there, they don't have a degree. They're just passionate about wildlife and safety and trying to help people, and maybe maybe they served for a couple of years in the military, maybe they didn't. I've met several of them that are in that boat, and they've had phenomenal on the job training, and maybe they're pursuing a degree in wildlife, but maybe not. They're also out there on airfields. They work on Navy installations, and they're very helpful and very involved in preventing strikes. I would say it's very niche, but there's surprisingly not a lot going around. So if you went over to like LaGuardia in New York, JFK, if you went down to I don't know, name your major airfield in at LAX, you're gonna have someone that's working that, because it's also an FAA requirement. And if I didn't mention that earlier, I should have. That you have some sort of a mitigation thing. So it's niche, but it does exist.
Cool. So my last question that we like to do is, what is one tool that you couldn't do your job without, and why? So this could be like a tangible physical tool, or it could be something more intangible, like effective communication. You take it how you'd like.
Okay. Can I give you 3?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I would say number 1, I'm going to go with a GIS. Again, pick your poison. There's several awesome tools out there. So geographic information systems, it is a crucial it's a crucial tool, but I would say also you should have gone through some sort of training as a wildlife biologist. I highly recommend anyone that's interested in pursuing a career, at least just take an introductory course in GIS, being able to create, manage, analyze maps with various layers. I don't know. I think it's like a big necessity and also being able to identify like basic species that are in the area, and you can put like layers in GIS that have like flood data. And anyway, I think that's probably number 1. Number 2, I bring a FLIR, so forward-looking infrared, so like a thermal vision, if that exists. Yeah. So I bring a FLIR with me for night surveys. It's not like crucial, but like a spotlight can work, but it's not as effective, because your spotlight, you're going to be disturbing animals, right? So if I come out there with a big giant spotlight, I don't know what a lot is, but maybe 1,000 lumens, I don't know, 2,000 lumens or something. So maybe that's a lot. But if I come out there and I'm shining this big light on them, right? I'm not seeing the wildlife, how they're naturally going to respond, and I'm probably going to scare them away. But if I come out there with a FLIR, especially if I go on an airfield and I'm looking at something, I'm like, do you see those things that are hovering over there? Those are barn owls, and that's how they act when they're hunting over on the airfield. Oh, that makes sense, because we've had a barn owl strike. I'm like, yeah, I'm looking through strike data at this airfield as an example, and then it helps. Then I can show that to the person that I'm going around doing that survey with, and they don't even know those things are there. So a FLIR, I would say, is number 2. Of course, spotting scope and binos, you should have those. That should just, I'm going to take that out of the equation, because I only got 3. So no, yeah. And so I'll do number 3. I'm going to go boots. I walk a lot on surveys. It might sound silly for a tool I couldn't do my job with, but man, I've gone through a lot of boots. I mean, I've been to 40 countries. I've done work in 3 continents as a biologist. And I would say like the Garmin, probably the Garmin the T8 NSF 670s are going to be the best pair of boots I've ever owned. And I mean, I've done straight up like ruck marches with those things on my, with 25 pounds on my back, like running through the woods. No issue with those, no blisters. I mean, I don't know if you just can't break them, because I mean, like Nike makes one, the soles fall off after like a year. And I mean, maybe I'm really rough on things, but yeah, those Garmin, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, GARMONT. Maybe the T is silent, Garma. I don't know, but they're phenomenal and good ankle support. And if you run, and then like, I mean, if you want, I can send you pictures and stuff of me climbing. I do a lot of climbing for eagle chicks, and so like I'm carrying packs with all my ropes and things on that. So I need something that's going to be very robust. So I don't know if that's too much of an answer for you, but yeah, that's
great.
3 pieces of
equipment. Yeah. I especially love talking about boots. I know that's weird, but no. It makes a big difference. So a little, just a little bit here. You said something about barn animals and barn owls, and it triggered a memory I had where, so I'm currently a financial planner and I serve, mainly US Forest Service folks, but people who serve our public lands. But before that, I was a regenerative farmer for a while. So that's sort of my passion, is for like the interaction of like soil microbes and the grass and the animals and all that ecosystem stuff. So whenever we would graze our sheep or our cows, if we wanted to like deal with pests, we would like try to put habitats for certain birds that we wanted to bring into the area to try to naturally mitigate some of that stuff. And that sounds a lot, but on a very micro scale, about what similar to the work you're doing.
Yeah. Same. There's also like I don't want to say a counter, like there's another partnership through natural resources that they'll have on the Army bases. And I've met tons of great natural resource managers that are out there building habitat. The Department of Defense, or is it Department of War now? I don't know. But whatever the right nomenclature is, doesn't matter. There are so many protected species that are on DoD, whatever, defense lands, right, that are out there that are being protected. Like I was out in Kentucky this year earlier for the NIMFO conference, and going out to seeing what they were doing for bat boxes. It blew my mind how they would have 400 bats that were going into these things that they're like, the regular bat boxes don't work. And I would completely agree with that. They had these things that they had built that it looks like tree bark, and they were putting them on telephone poles. They were putting between 12 and 18 feet high, and they had 400 bats in each one of these. And they would space them all around around the installation at a former tank strike area. And I was like, this is so cool that no one knows what's going on there. And I mean, people can buy the things that they're selling, whatever. But I think that there's a very small niche of people like you're referencing that understand like how things like there's a very small population of red wolves that comes onto Dare County Range. That part of it is managed by the Air Force out in North Carolina. And there's only, I don't know, if I said there was 25 red wolves, someone will probably yell at me and say now there's 27 or so. I don't know, but it's very small how many are wild in the experimental population, right? That's in coastal, it's out in coastal North Carolina, but it's very small. In captivity, I think there's like 200 or something. But there's very small things like that are going on that are very effective. And there's a lot of very passionate people that care a lot about the environment and care a lot about the mission of trying to keep military members safe, but also, hey, how can we do what's best for wildlife at the same time, if we can find that good happy medium.
That's super cool. Well, thank you so much, Will. I really appreciate it. And I definitely want to make sure that I don't forget to thank you for your service. Thank you, sir.
Of course. Yeah, it really is my honor. Do you want to see a puppy? They're
yes,
awake
please.
now. Yeah. They're only because they're awake. All right. So this is Bronx. So I have AKC Basset Hounds. So this is one of 7. Oh. He's got 6 siblings. So
nice. Oh my gosh, those ears. Oh my goodness.
They were all sleeping before. So
he looks like he could step on those ears.
Yeah. Oh, they do. They for the next couple weeks they'll kind of trip on their ears, and then they get a little taller and grow out of them.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that. That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Catherine, it was my pleasure.
Have a good one.